Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Channel 2. Welcome to our news bulletin. We'll start off with the headlines, followed by the news in detail. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received Sudanese Sovereign Council's chief al-Burhan as such support to Sudan's integrity. Palestinians tell International Court of Justice that Israel is using aid blockage in Gaza as weapon of war. And Yemen's Houthi media says 68. Welcome back. The news in full. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and the head of the Sudanese Sovereign Council, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, on Monday asserted rejection to unilateral measures in the Blue Nile Basin. At a meeting at the Ittihadiyya Presidential Palace in Cairo, the two sides asserted the need for a joint action to ensure water security of both Egypt and Sudan, adding that international law should be enacted in this issue with the aim of achieving mutual interests of all Nile Basin countries. The meeting was held upon arrival of head of the Sudanese Sovereign Council, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, in Cairo. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and the Sudanese Sovereign Council chief also discussed ways to support efforts to regain the stability and re-kick development in Sudan, with the president asserting Cairo's support to Sudan's integrity and unity and its rejection of the foreign interference. They tackled latest field developments in Sudan and Sudanese army restoration of control over the capital Khartoum. Both the Egyptian and Sudanese sides asserted the need to intensify efforts to provide assistance to the Sudanese who are residing at war areas and to enhance Egyptian contribution in the reconstruction efforts in the neighboring country. They also discussed means of resuming joint projects in several pivotal sectors. President el-Sisi was at the reception of al-Burhan at Cairo Airport before leading a red carpet reception ceremony at the Ittihadiyya Palace for the Sudanese guest. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi congratulated Gabon's President Ngoma on his election victory, saying the vote reflected great confidence in the president by Gabon's people. Over a phone conversation, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi hailed holding elections in Gabon as primary step towards the completion of the transition track in the brotherly African state. President el-Sisi wished President Ngoma success in achieving development and enhancing regional interjection across the African continent. The conversation also asserted that boosting bilateral cooperation is important, notably in the terms of economic cooperation and investments. The House of Representatives Speaker Hanafi Gebeli said that the leaderships in Egypt and Hungary are determined to push relations further. Meeting with the visiting Hungary Parliament Speaker, Gebeli called for increased Hungarian investments in Egyptian markets. The Egyptian speaker also stressed Egypt's positions towards continued Israeli aggression in Gaza, calling for a resumption of the ceasefire, free and aid entry into the Palestinian enclave, and supporting the Gaza reconstruction plan. The Hungarian speaker, meanwhile, hailed Egypt's regional role, its stability, and recent developments boom. A top Palestinian official told the International Court of Justice Monday that Israel was blocking humanitarian aid to Palestinians in Gaza as a weapon of war, asserting that 9 of every 10 Palestinians have no access to safe drinking water. The plea was made at the start of a week of hearings at the UN's top court, which is requested to give an advisory opinion on Israel's humanitarian obligations to the Palestinians.
A Palestinian diplomat has told the United Nations top court that Israel is killing and displacing civilians and targeting aid workers in Gaza in a man-made catastrophe of unprecedented proportions. Ambassador Ammar Hijazi was speaking Monday at the opening of a week of hearings at the International Court of Justice into Israel's legal obligations to facilitate aid in the occupied territories. Hearings open as the humanitarian aid system in Gaza is nearing collapse. Since March 2nd, Israel completely cut off food, fuel, medicine, and other supplies to the the 2.3 million civilians of Gaza Strip. It renewed its bombardment on March 18th, breaking a ceasefire and seizing large parts of their territory. Another 38 countries will then address the 15-judge panel. The League of Arab States, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, and the African Union will also make submissions. On Tuesday, South Africa will present its arguments in hearings. Last year, in a separate case at the court, South Africa accused Israel of committing genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. Those proceedings are still underway. In December, the UN Top Court was tasked upon a request from the UN General Assembly to form an advisory opinion on Israel's legal responsibilities after the country blocked the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees from operating on its territory. In a resolution sponsored by Norway, the Assembly requested the opinion on Israel's obligation at the occupied territories to ensure and facilitate the unhindered provision of urgently needed supplies essential to the survival of the Palestinian civilian population. The daily Israeli bombardment and widespread hunger is taking heavy toll on Gaza's most vulnerable residents, including pregnant women and children.
Israeli air attacks on the Gaza Strip overnight into Monday killed at least 27 Palestinians. An airstrike hit a home in Bethlehem, killing a Palestinian prisoner who had been released as part of January 19th ceasefire agreement. His wife, two of their children, and a grandchild were also killed. According to the Indonesian hospital, which received blames on Pakistan, gunmen killed 26 people on April 22, one of the worst attacks in the Muslim-majority region since India revoked its self-rule status in 2019. A three-day ceasefire in May in the war with Ukraine to mark the 80th anniversary of the victory of the Soviet Union and its allies in World War II. The Kremlin said the truce will begin as May 9th, and Putin also thanked North Korean troops for fighting against Ukrainian forces who seized chunks of land in the Russian-cursed region last year. Putin's statement came on the heels of North Korea's confirming it sent troops to Russia to help in the battle in the cursed region. Back home, Egypt on Monday expressed solidarity with Canada after 11 people were killed in a car ramming incident through a crowd at Filipino Community Festival. A foreign ministry statement said Egypt sent condolences to the families of the killed and wished recovery to the injured. Canadian prosecutors, meanwhile, charged 30-year-old Kai G. Adam Liu with 8 counts of second-degree murder following the incident in Vancouver in Saturday evening. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli today said they appreciate the efforts exerted by Mustaqbal Masr, or Egypt's future authority, for carrying out sustainable development projects in the New Delta. The Prime Minister made these remarks in an inspection tour at the authority's projects, having contributed to the decrease of the imports invoice through replacing the state's agriculture imports with cultivating strategic crops, the forefront of which is wheat. Madbouli also inspected the pace of work at infrastructure and industrial work at the projects to switch the water path into the New Delta. He further made stops at the New Delta logistic wholesale market and the industrial zone. Ending his tour, Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli met with some of the authority's staff. Chairman of the Arab Banks Union, Mohammed El-Itribi, today announced awarding Governor of the Central Bank of Egypt, Hassan Abdullah, the prize of General Governor for 2025. The union chairman said that the Egyptian top banker will be awarded the prize at the opening round of the Arab Banks in Paris on June 20th. The announcement came in the course of the 2025 Arab Banks Union Conference, which kicked off today in Cairo under the title Partnership Between the Public and Private Sectors to Finance the Economy. Congratulations. Egypt officially received today the rotating presidency of the Trade Ministerial Council of the African Continental Free Trade Area, succeeding Tanzania. The move came during the 16th convention of the Council, currently held in the Congolese capital, Kinshasa, and reflected Egypt's pioneering role in boosting the African economic integration. In a recorded speech at the meeting, Minister of Investment and External Trade Hassan El Khatib said that Egypt attaches a top priority to activating the agreement of the Continental Trade Area, stressing the necessity of ending up stalled technical talks pending its activation. Egypt's bourse closed higher today amid purchases by local and foreign corporations and foreign investors against sell by Arab corporation and local and Arab investors. The market capital of listed companies added 5 billion Egyptian pounds, reaching 2.2 trillion pounds at the end of transactions. The benchmark index EGX 30 rose 0.1% above the 32,100 point mark. The equal weighted indices, the EGX 70 and EGX 100, both surged 0.4%. An Egyptian hero and living legend in Liverpool, Mohamed Salah, has scored 28 goals and provided 18 assists so far, as Liverpool equaled Manchester United's record of 20 English top-flight titles yesterday. The runaway leaders thrashed Tottenham Hotspur 5-1 at Anfield and took an unassizable 15-point lead over second-placed Arsenal with 4 rounds to go. Salah's combined total of 46 goals and assists is a new Premier League record for this season. His tally of 185 goals in the English top 5 is the 5th highest in Premier League history, and he is in the top 10 for assists. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all from me, Abir Mitwali. Thanks for watching, and please stay tuned.